Nobody chasing the truth.
So here's my reaction to the Russell Wilson situation. It's very bizarre because he's playing very well, so let's watch the video.
Broncos upset the Chiefs. Russell Wilson has 3 touchdowns. 2 days later, on Halloween, on October 31st, the Broncos come to Russell Wilson in his camp and say, we need you to acquiesce to your injury guarantee, the $37 million spot, and say you don't need that anymore. Russell Wilson then says no, basically. The team threatens that if he continues to say no, they're going to not only bench him, they're going to make him inactive for the remainder of the season. Keep in mind, the
Sounds like Mafia Tactics to me.
Broncos were in a playoff hunt. Russell Wilson was playing some of the best football of his career. If you look at the numbers, 26 touchdowns, only 8 picks, nearly 67% completion percentage, over 3,000 yards, and the Broncos were back on track. And
I mean, think about that. 26 touchdowns, only 8 picks. 3 of those picks came in one game versus the Chiefs. I didn't watch the game, so you never know. It might be the receiver's fault. Who knows? But he only really had one poor showing. You know, I don't really want to see Russell Wilson in a Pittsburgh Steelers uniform because I just don't think that's the future. I want to see Jalen Daniels from LSU in a Pittsburgh Steelers uniform. He's young, he's mobile, he's tall. He's real tricky, and that's who I want to see. But, you know, Russell Wilson's not playing bad football.
It's interesting. I started to talk to some of the Denver Broncos players throughout this winning streak, and they were saying, we finally got our momentum. We got our juju on both sides of the ball, and we can count on Russ because we know we have a quarterback that can win us games when it matters most. And if you go back to that critical win over the Buffalo Bills, Russell has that kind of signature pirouette touchdown pass in the end zone. They beat Buffalo. They beat Cleveland, one of the NFL's best defenses. And it really looked like Denver was on the verge of something special. Now, they lose to New England. Russell's able to tie it up 23-all, ultimately lose, and the playoff hopes are essentially squashed. Then we learn today that Sean Payton goes to Russell Wilson directly and says, you are now being benched for the remainder of the season. We're going to go with Jarrett Stidham.
I mean, sounds like a real personal. I wouldn't say it's personal, but maybe it's just not his preference. But I really dislike when coaches do this because this is a team, and you have other grown professionals in there that really worked hard to get to this point in the season. And obviously, Russell Wilson gives you the best chance to win. Now, they might be saving him because they don't want him to get hurt and they want to trade him. But you don't play for trades. You play to win games, and this is a BS situation by Sean Payton.
Sources with direct access to the situation tell me that the Broncos, just 2 days after the Broncos beat the Chiefs, front office came to Russell Wilson, Sean Payton, they came to Russell Wilson and they said, we need you to remove your guaranteed injury, and if you don't, you will be inactive. That is a significant threat made to Russell Wilson.
Exactly. That's Mafia strong-arm tactics. I mean, he should have just laughed him out of the office. That's ridiculous.
In the midst of a playoff race, and one, quite frankly, that I've never heard of before. I see the comments, I smell a lawsuit. You think the backup would be the answer? Is this legal? Well, that's why, to answer your question, is this legal? That's why the NFL and the NFLPA got directly involved after this happened. And, you know, if Russell Wilson were to be cut, there's an $85 million dead cap hit on the Broncos.
If he gets cut, he gets $85 million. If you think, I mean, I'm not saying he doesn't care about football, but come on. You know, whoever gave Russell Wilson this ridiculous monster contract, the age that he is, he doesn't really move around as well as before. Yeah, he's playing good football. Plenty of teams would like to see him, you know, that have bad quarterbacks would like to see Russell Wilson as their QB. But Seattle knew something. They knew he wasn't the future. You never give a guy this age that kind of money. And the Denver Broncos have no one to blame but themselves for being bad businessmen. And then you want to turn around and use Mafia tactics towards Russell Wilson. It's ridiculous.
You can kind of put the pieces together and say, okay, I can see why Denver's going to do that based on these actions today. But it's really one of the stranger stories, one of the more unprecedented things I've heard in my years covering the NFL as an insider. To go to a player, especially one of this caliber, who's playing really well, some of the best football he's played in some years, and tell them, we need you to remove your $37 million injury guarantee. And if you don't, here's the threat. You will be inactive for the rest of the season. That is a massive.
It's only 2 games left. Okay, bye.
Threat to make to Russell Wilson, and obviously he said no, as he definitely should have, as I would have, as any player would have, who's already negotiated that in his contract. And then you have the scenario that's moved forward where it really seems untenable.
You know, that's why you can't blame any of these athletes when they're just trying to get the most amount of money possible, humanly possible, out of these teams. You know, I hear a lot of fans, oh, he's this and he's that, but you know, these owners have no integrity for the most part. They do bad deals. You sign a contract, right? And that's what Russell Wilson signed. It's a contract. Live up to your part of the bargain. The Denver Broncos organization should be living up to their part of the bargain, especially since he's playing good football. It's not like he's playing bad football, right? So it's just ballsy. You know, it's just classless. It's just a bad way to do business. It says a lot about who you are as a person and as an organization. You gave Russell Wilson, an aging quarterback who's not as good as he used to be, a boatload of money, and now you're mad because you brought in Sean Payton and he likes to run a million gazillion plays, and Russell Wilson probably doesn't have the ability to run some of these plays. You know, you have to roll Russ out a lot because he's shorter. You know, he probably doesn't want this type of quarterback, meaning Sean Payton, and now you use Mafia Tactics to get him to take a pay cut or take his injury clause out when he's guaranteed $85 million at the end of the season. I would have told him to go scratch too. I mean, he's playing good football. There's plenty of teams around the league that have a bad quarterback. I mean, if he put up these numbers for the Steelers this year, we'd be in the playoffs. Again, I don't want to see him as a Steeler. He's not the answer. He's not the future. I don't. You know, he got a little diva-ish and Hollywood, having his own office inside the Broncos locker room. It's Richard Sherman, Earl Thomas, all these guys talk about it. So it's not like I'm just making up accusations. The whole Legion of Boom talks about it. Even Marshawn Lynch badmouths him. I don't think he'd be a good fit in Pittsburgh with this type of attitude. So, I wish him nothing but the best. They're doing him wrong here. He played good football. He deserves the money, and that's my take on it.